Now we return you to your host.
Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you so much for joining us once more again today. So we have so much going on today on so many different things, so many different topics, and we will be starting this show right off the bat here. First, I just wanted to talk really quick about what's going on over in Italy, in case you guys didn't see. We definitely had a major event over there with a collapse of a bridge that apparently was triggered by a lightning strike, potentially. That doesn't even sound right. It doesn't even sound legitimate. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that it was a lightning strike that actually did that? And we do have Lee Wheelbarger, which will be joining us a little bit later here, shortly, hopefully. But yeah, a lightning strike, and then the bridge ends up collapsing. And I was watching some video where, granted, the big part of the bridge is already collapsed, but you could see flashes, and it looked like the flashes were coming from below it. And then you see the main column come down. And so it just, again, makes me really, really wonder what's going on. Hello, caller. Thank you for joining us, Evolutionary Energy Arts. And who do we have with us?
Hey, my name is Steve.
Hi, Steve. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing real good. What would you want to talk to us about tonight?
Well, I've been meaning to call you and talk about some different homesteading and practical farming things that almost anybody can do. And I guess what this comes down to is, we need to be prepared for the future, and it's a multifaceted effort where you really have to consider things from multiple angles to really be successful in producing your own food.
Well, you sound like you know what you're talking about. So definitely share with us some of your expertise.
Well, I've been homesteading for a couple of years now. I've been farming and producing goods for over 2 decades, but most recently I've moved onto a 5-acre plot of land. I'm raising chickens, rabbits. I have several gardens. With my homesteading efforts, my main goal is to eliminate as many as possible external inputs. Because I feel like in the future you may not be able to go to the store and just purchase things that you need. So it's important to learn how to accommodate all your needs without external input. And really the way to do that is to be able to produce the fertilizers that you need for your garden, and those fertilizers that you use in your garden that grow your produce will also produce the vegetables and goods that you need to feed back to your livestock. You're basically creating God's intended God's intended the circulation of the food chain, basically. So, just to summarize what I mean by all that, basically, like I raise the rabbits. Rabbits, a lot of people don't know this, but rabbits actually can consume their own droppings, so they double digest all of their everything they eat. And what that does is it creates a fertilizer that doesn't need to be composted. And so basically you can feed that directly to your plants as soon as you collect it, from your rabbit pen. And I use this quite a bit, and I feed that back to the plant. Like I have basil, I have tons of herbs and spices, and the rabbits love them. So as soon as I collect those droppings and I feed it back to the spices, I collect the spices, I harvest the spices that I'm going to use, and then I take the parts of the spices like the stems and things, and I feed them back to the rabbits, and they produce more manure. And it's a whole cycle,
Yeah, well, that's definitely an awesome thing to have going, because you're way ahead of the game, and like you said, it is this beautiful natural cycle that is set up here so perfectly. When we simply respect it and follow the natural ways instead of what the corporations have done.
Absolutely. Some of the other things I want to talk about is different types of crops you can grow. Everybody has varying types of soil conditions, and there's some crops that grow very well in poor soil, and there's other crops that you really have to build up your soil or even make your own soil to have success at. So for instance, I have several different garden plots to kind of and I try out different types of produce in the various plots and see how they do. And some of the plots are poor soil, some are raised garden beds that I spent hundreds of dollars putting pre-mixed soil in and developing the soil in there. And most people can maybe not be able to afford that type of soil, and so you may not be able to even go that route. But for plants like tomatoes and peppers and things like that are very high demand, you really have to have a good soil base. So it's almost best to isolate those plants into a bed where you can determine the composition of the soil and have the best success. But if you can't do that, then there's other crops like squash and pumpkins and things that do okay in poor soil. And another crop that I highly encourage everybody to try out is Jerusalem artichokes, which are either from Jerusalem or artichoke, but they are tuber crops, similar to potatoes, and they grow like weeds. And if you actually do not harvest all of them, they will continually, year after year, come back almost invasively, which, in these times of days is probably a good thing. But the nice thing about Jerusalem artichokes, there's about 20 or 30 varieties. They have all sorts of flavor profiles, anywhere from nutty to sweet, to artichoke flavored. And it's a tuber crop, so it mostly grows underground. So if it gets hit by hail, you still have something underground. It stays underground year round, so you can continually harvest throughout the winter as long as the ground is liable. Also, like for me, I raise rabbits, and so the nice thing about the Jerusalem artichoke is that during the spring, I can cut the vegetative growth and feed it to the rabbits. During the fall, when it puts out flower heads, it's actually in the sunflower family, so it puts out very big flower heads. And so during the fall, I can actually feed the flower heads to the rabbits. It'll put out seeds that I can feed to the rabbits. And then during the winter, I can also harvest the tubers. Those can also be fed to the rabbits. So it's one of the few crops that year-round can be fed to your rabbits and keep them sustained. So my whole thing with what I do as far as being off grid and homesteading is eliminate external input and be able to feed my animals and feed everything and sustain myself in the event that there are no there are no stores or options to go to get external fertilizers and feed and everything else. And I'm still not perfectly there yet. It's an effort that is ongoing, and it develops, as I go and I learn new things. But it's something that everybody should consider and incorporate into their plan. If they plan on being self-sufficient.
Well, I think that's a lot of people's aspirations, but there is really a lot to it. And you're so right with the soil and everything. Like I grew up in Connecticut and used to have gardens every year up there. And of course I couldn't really plant anything much until, like May 1st or maybe the last week in April if it seemed like it was pretty good. And then I moved to South Carolina and Columbia area, and it was totally different. It was very, very sandy, where Connecticut was rocky, but then you had rich soil in pockets. And then from there moved to Ohio, which again was very, very rich soil and totally different. But again, different growing season. And then now down to Florida, where, if you think you're going to go put, tomato plants in May, you're not going to have any success because everything is backwards here because of the intensity of the heat. And, of course, now we have the UV rays, which seem to be killing everything as well. Have you experienced that with? Do you think, as a farmer, do you notice anything with the sun that actually seems like it's killing the crops at all?
Yeah, I was actually getting ready to comment on that. One thing I've noticed, actually in the past week or so, was several trees had quite a few leaves that had yellowed, and I went out actually last night and we had a good breeze going, and I saw trees, just letting off massive amounts of yellow leaves, and I was like, this never happens this time of year. I mean, this is more of a fall kind of situation. So I was completely shocked by the fact that there were so many yellow leaves falling to the ground, and I can't necessarily say, yeah, that's UV rays or whatnot, but all I can say is that it's definitely unusual for this time of year in this region. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in mid-Missouri. For anybody who's wondering, I've actually contacted you. I sent you an email previously about my location and trying to create a community. And that's one of the things I'm working on is besides all my permaculture and farming efforts, I also run a store on Etsy, and I sell natural and organic products, primarily to people that make their own DIY cosmetics and soaps and bath bombs, body butters, things like that. I'm starting to expand and do. I also have a freeze dryer, so now I'm making all the produce that I've been producing. I've got 15 different types of spices. I got several types of basil and various spices that I'm freeze drying, and I'm starting to package those up and sell those as well. And it's just a myriad of different things. Anything I can come up with that's natural, organic, version of the planet. I try to offer those products, at a good price, and that's just my little niche. And the thing that I do to create a little bit of income while I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, to continue my effort. And in the future, we're actually looking right now at another piece of land, probably 40 to 100 acres here in the Midwest, not somewhere in the Ozark area. And we hope to eventually get to a point You know, like there's several points of contention in my business that I cannot find enough time to pay attention to. So I have like basically, 5 to 10 spin-offs of what I'm doing, where you can take the products I sell and you could reformulate them into other things and create an entirely new business. I just don't have time to do that. So when we buy this next property, I'm hopefully going to try to get some more people down here that are dedicated to this venture and would like to, create their own business and live in a situation where they don't have all this overhead expense, all these monthly bills, this nightmare of today's reality of, society, where they can come out here, they can create things, they can, live at low monthly expenses, and we can create community. I mean, that's the whole idea, right?
Right, and before I forget this, please do send me your info again. Send me your info with your business and the links to your business. And there is actually one of our other Evolutionary Energy Arts family people that is a farmer in your area, and she's had a lot of bad things a bad string of events happen to her, and I feel like I should contact you with her. So do email me again all your info, and I feel like I should get you in contact with her because she has a farm as well, and I think she might be interested in selling it, and she's in your area as well.
Yeah, definitely, that'd be great. I think I've heard you mention her before because my ears always perk up when you mention somebody in my area, so I do believe it's a few shows ago you mentioned her. So yeah, I mean, the whole reason I was calling is because I really, coming from the place I was 2 years ago and where I am now, the things I have learned and the things that I had no idea about 2 years ago, it's daunting. This task of separating ourselves from today's reality and getting back to what our ancestors knew for generations, it's almost unimaginable. I mean, the amount of effort and work it takes to learn these various intricacies of what it really takes to be self-sustaining. Everybody needs to start today. Today is almost too late, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I know we've had experts saying that before, and I totally agree. And I'm going to move on to the next caller. But thank you so much for sharing, and please do send me all your info again.
Okay, will do.
Thank you so much, brother, for all your help and all your info there.
All right, take care.
Take care. So that was a very good call from a farmer, and now we're going to try to connect with Lee Wheelbarger. Lee, if you're out there, give us a call in, and I will grab it. And very interesting. I mean, it takes so much work to run a farm, and I had nothing but admiration for the farmers in the world. Hello, caller. You're on the air, and who do we have with us?
It's Ray, Michael. How are you?
Hey there, Ray. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Living the dream, brother.
Well, I would expect nothing less out of you.
I can't understand how you couldn't do it otherwise.
Exactly.
It doesn't even make sense anymore. Anyhow, I'll bring it back down. I get excited, you know what I mean? Oh, boy, I got 10 minutes to do this in, so let me just get right in it, okay? You want out of the Matrix? You love yourself. Bottom line. You love every aspect of you, even the stuff that you fear, because fear just makes you stronger. It brings you to a deeper understanding of what love really is. And once you overcome the obstacles of fear, then you become love. It gets so much deeper than that, but that literally is how you get out of the Matrix. Everything you've been taught is a lie. I mean everything. Even in the Bible where it says, from the darkness comes the light, that is false. From the light came the darkness. Okay? So it's already been, the whole freaking thing, brother, is a lie. Now, there is truth in the Bible, but as we all know, those who conquer get to rewrite history. It's just the way it is. These people, the negatives, which you will come to find out that is actually us manifesting because we have duality in ourselves. But other than that, God, I'm so excited, brother. If I could just tell you everything, if I could just stop. Never mind, I don't want to stop time. Yesterday, we were outside. There was 3 of us, and it was my son from up on high, I guess you could say, because he is a son of the sun. But anyhow, he, me, and my queen, which is my twin flame, which is the other aspect of prime, we stopped. We made it rain. There wasn't even any clouds around, and it rained just on us. And once I recognized that happened, and I became aware that we were doing it, you talk about deeper understanding. I literally saw through the veil, I guess you could say. And I haven't stopped looking through the veil since. We are on the Rainbow Bridge. Yes, we are. We are on the Rainbow Bridge right now. We are in between because it's still 4D chess. Our move, their move, our move, their move. It's okay though. We got this. Where we go one, we go all. And I got it figured out. Not saying that to be egotistical, whatever. It is what it is. Okay. Then I went out and saw what would be, in Earth terms, the Star Destroyers. You know, in Star Wars, the big triangle things.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I looked up and saw a big triangle thing, and then in my head popped, and I saw Darth Vader walking on this like thing in the middle of the ship. So that told me that, yeah, that's what you're looking at. So I'm like, holy smokes. And then I saw it. And then I was like, I remember being 13 and stopping the clouds. I wondered, well, guess what happened, Michael? I stopped the clouds from moving. It was intense. I feel like I could pull the ship down myself, but they're telling me no. You know what I mean? It's incredible, bro. It's incredible. I'm Adam. She's Eve. And we can see it plain as day. We've been, oh my gosh, it's incredible, bro. It's so incredible. Yes, Florida's about to go underwater, but it's not going to be like now. It's not going to be like in 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm feeling pretty close to that. Anyhow, let me calm down. The trick of it all, this is what the Ascended Masters learned. They learned how to become emotionless. And by doing so, you keep yourself from doubting yourself. You keep the fear at bay. You actually conquer yourself. And in knowing that you are a duality creature in a duality universe, in a duality concept, then you understand that we are creating the evil as well. As below, so above. On this side of the mirror, as well on the other. Whatever happens on Earth is literally happening everywhere simultaneously. You follow me there so far? I know you do. But
I do, totally. And it just like what you were saying, I mean, they give us the prophecies, that way we will manifest them.
Yes, and then they negatively reinforce them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they do it from these 2 terms. You could just take these 2 phrases, okay? Fear God and love thyself. In those 2 terms, they keep you in infinite confusion. They subjugate us. They are not forcing us per se, because in the free will construct, you can't make someone do something forcefully. You can't do it for them, or, okay, I can't just hold you down and make you do something. No, but I can convince you to, You know what I mean? It is literally like a Star Trek episode where Data, which is the cyborg, you know what I mean? The most advanced what do you call it? He's like a cyborg. It's artificial intelligence, but he can't feel. And through the whole freaking story, he's trying to learn how to feel because he can't. He's like looking at humans like, I don't understand your emotions. Well, that's us. We have the computer brain of God. We all carry the God spark. Hello. There's nothing you can do about it. They just hid it from us. And in one of the episodes, he has this emotion chip that he puts in so he can feel emotion. Well, if you notice, and if you've ever seen it, all he does is laugh. He's blissed out, right? Because that's the way it was. But then somebody instilled fear. And it ruined everything. Not necessarily ruined, but it changed everything. And if you've seen the show, you see how he spirals out of control until they take the emotion chip back out. But when he took it back out, he had the understanding of both light and dark, right? Which made him superior. Not superior in like white supremacy crap. I'm talking about superior because he overcame the emotions. He experienced them and overcame them. That's what we're doing now. That simple. I personally, Ray is what you would call him. I say Prime. Prime has become Ray. Ray is now Prime. Bottom line. But anyhow, I'm tingling all over. Just give me 1 second. I don't know if you're sending me energy or if I'm feeling the entire collective right now. I don't know, but it's 1 second. It's exciting. It's so exciting. But once you get to a point where you're emotionless, now try to get out of Earth concept. Try to have an open mind. Yeah, I understand the box, and I've told you guys about the box concept, where if it fits in that box, that's all you believe. Anything other than that, you can't possibly fathom to believe because you have these strong emotional ties to this box because that's all you know. So if you lose this box, you're scared of the unknown. Well, that's the whole point. That's what they have done to us by saying that you were born a sinner and to fear God. I mean, it's really simple. It's just use deductive reasoning and common sense, but it makes you scared. I understand that. That's your ego mind, not one to let go of the familiar. It's okay, though. It's once you get rid of it, you have super consciousness, your Akashic records open up, and then you get to know everything. You just got to piece it all together. And if you're listening, you see how the universe opens up to you. You see the synchronicities in everything. And I'm not just talking about numbers. I'm talking about everything. Every single breath, every single light. When I say something, I get a bell. My phone goes off. A car lights flash. A horn flashes. Immediately, when I finish a sentence, to add the emphasis, to drive it home. Is because we are all time travelers. That's bottom line. We travel time. If you know anything about multidimensional beings, it would make perfect sense because time is an illusion in itself. Okay, we dial back down.
It is. I know you did see the one I did on Sunday that was getting into the Catholic Church and all those origins. Think about some of the concepts. The concept of original sin. You know, I mean, that is so entirely self-limiting. It so destroys us, you know, and then the fear, just the nothing but the hellfire and all that. So as you are saying, which is totally on, you know, it gets you into this state of mind where you really can't progress. You know, you really can't. You're stuck. You're just in this loop.
Because they have you to where you love hell. You are in hell because you're manifesting their reality. This is hell in a sense. You are playing out their fantasy. You love this aspect. You love fear because you don't know anything else. So in essence, you love hell. That's it. At the same time that this is hell, this is heaven. But due to choices and perspective, you can't realize just how easy it is. It is so simple. A 2-year-old can get it. That's why they attack a 2-year-old at 2 years old, because they don't want them to get it.
Very very true, my brother. Well, thank you so much for sharing, as always, and we always look forward to it. You have your own fan club going here, and you know it. You know you're loved.
Well, I'm on the way to Florida, so all the Florida people, I want to hear everything. I want to know everything. I got to put the middle together. Yes, I'm Alpha and Omega, but together, teamwork makes the dream work, and we all learn the middle. Also, one more thing, identify with love. Just, that's it. You and yourself, your name right now, who you are, that is your ultimate form. Bring it back to love. You are, in essence, everything. Everything. You are God. Anyhow, love you, bro.
Love you too, Ray Ray. Take care, bro.
See you soon. Bye.
So that was our own Ray Ray with some words of love and wisdom, and he's happy. He's high on life. He really, really is. And here we have, I believe, do we have KJ with us?
Hey, Michael, how's it going, brother?
Good. How you been, KJ?
It's been a while since I've got a chance to call. I've been super busy, thank God. Things are going well here in New York. Other than the bizarre weather.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I feel like I'm back down in Sarasota in the summertime. I mean, we had a storm today that literally just appeared out of nowhere, and it really downpoured like a classic Florida afternoon storm. Same exact thing happened yesterday. I mean, it's literally tropical up here. That's what New York has become. It's literally become just like Florida as far as the amount of rain and the type of storms. I mean, the growth everywhere here. We're getting like just all of this incredible like wild grass growth that I've never seen in my life in the north. And it's just, we've just been getting this constant bombardment, which has been great for my tomato rooftop garden, so I haven't had to do so much manual watering, but it's been pretty bizarre, pretty intense. What I wanted to touch base with you, because let me ask you a question. How long have you been down in that region, in the Florida region?
This time it's been a year. I was here 4 years ago for about almost 2 years.
Okay, because the reason why I asked that, because I remember a couple weeks back we were talking about the whole red tide situation where you are. It is now officially considered the worst red tide ever in history in that area now. And the problem being that Lake Okeechobee has become literally a toxic site. It is so bad. And that's why I wanted to discuss kind of that with you or anyone who's in that region, because the runoff now, the way they channel things out from the East Coast and to the West Coast, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of it, but they've had to shut down so much of the beaches in that region. And I mean, if you're shutting down the beach in Florida, that's like, you know, no Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. You know, I mean, it's insane what's going on, and this situation seems to be just getting worse and worse. I just saw an incredible documentary about it, and what's going on with, you know, how bad it's gotten, and it's a major health concern, and I know you definitely experienced the effects of it, and so unfortunately, I just want to make sure that anybody who's in East Coast or West Coast, because really it's affecting both sides of the coast because of the, you know, the phosphorus runoff from the fertilizers, from the cattle farms in the north. It's a really terrible situation that's happening down there where you are.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, really, and it's just getting worse and worse, and they're adding counties all the time. And now it's up to the Tampa area as well, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, and you know, you know, the last time I was there was 2005. In 2006, they had a bad one, but it seems like now it is just really magnified. I mean, I couldn't believe the amount of dead sea life and sea turtles and manatees that I saw. And this was something that was just shot about a month ago.
and it blew my mind. I mean, if I was still down there, I don't know what I would do, because that was like my life, living on Siesta Key and going to the beach and going to the drum circle every weekend, and and I couldn't imagine not being able to go in the water, and being in that area. So that in itself could have such a drastic financial impact come this winter. If it continues, it's going to be so bad. So, I mean, this is just like, to me, another one of these unfortunate signs of things that are just, it's like beyond a breaking point, almost like with so many things, whether it's the wildfires in California, the red tide situation down where you are, the drought situation that is impacting Germany and the whole breadbasket region of Europe, as well as Australia. I mean, there's people that are having to basically kill off tens of thousands of their animals because they can't even afford to feed them. And this is something that, we're still in the early stages of all these, effects, whether it's, the grand solar minimum or whatever it may be. But we're seeing now all of these things connecting up, and it's just becoming, overwhelming, it seems. But for Florida, I mean, the groundwater there is, shaky at best, and to see what's happening because of the pollution and the runoff, and they just really they just hadn't prepared, I guess, for the amount of development, and it blows my mind. It really does, and I feel terrible about it as somebody who lived down there and really enjoyed those beaches for so many years. Hopefully, I don't know what's going on recently. I haven't heard anything, but you were saying that they're actually closing more areas down?
Yeah, well, it's spread. Now it's all the way from, Naples all the way up to, the Tampa counties as well. So it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. They had 9 dolphins dead, in the Sarasota beaches. I mean, it's just such a travesty. And, it's like, I don't really get angered often. I get disappointed in people, disappointed in humanity, but not really angered. But like the last week now, it's just like I can't shake this feeling of getting very angered.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, that's why I say, I just can't imagine, that region being affected this way to such an extent, and it almost seems as if it just doesn't even seem like it's not even a big news story. Of course, because we're dealing with so many other cataclysmic tragedies throughout everywhere else. And of course, it's more important, that, Omarosa is headline news, because that's the deflection, unfortunately. But I really, and it was bizarre how I kind of found this, local documentary about it. I just happened to be popping through, and I'm like, what's going on with the red tide issue? And I was sick to my stomach. I mean, it is. And somebody, like I said, who lived down there for a while, and knowing that you're down there, and people like yourself that have just kind of gotten down there, I really feel for you, and I think that it's very important that people really take heed to the, it's not even just going in the water, it's even what's just in the air and the atmosphere, because there it's, obviously it's very humid and breezy. So this stuff, is so toxic, and people have to be really careful being around that stuff, because it really does a number on your immune system.
Oh, it sure does. I've been on the road really like the last 3 weeks, just because, a long time ago I had asthma, I had a lot of allergies before I was really practicing QiGong, and I had a bad case of pneumonia left me with my lower left lobe, my lung scarred for life. But I didn't feel anything from that for 20 years. And then just after being exposed to this, it's like I could remember how it felt when I had issues. And all of a sudden I was having issues again. And just went back last night, made 2 videos there back at home, quote unquote. And literally in a 12-hour period, starting to feel, my sinuses burn, starting to feel it working its way back into the lungs. And so, it's like, I guess we're getting close to that time where it's time to hit the road. So, it's not getting any better. I don't anticipate it being any better for at least several more months. It seems like it's actually getting worse.
It is painful to see that, and I have so many friends and family that are still down in that region. I have friends on both coasts. Like, a friend of mine is in the Stewart region. He's like, yeah, they shut down all the beaches over here as well, because what they did is they basically made a channel from Okeechobee to the East Coast and the West Coast for the runoff. But they just never anticipated Okeechobee getting this bad. And, as we all know, most of Florida, especially that middle section, it's just a giant sandbar. And so there's really nowhere for that stuff to filter into, whereas the Everglades kind of used to be able to handle a certain level of toxicity, but it no longer can handle the amount now. And it's mind-blowing that it just seems like they're just stymied, like they just don't know what to do or how to handle it, and they're just allowing this to continually pump into the East and West Coast. And what do they think is going to happen? I mean, there's no way around it if this continues, that these beaches are going to become, they're just going to be completely shut down. And Florida, no beach, there's no tourists.
Oh yeah, it's impacting. It's definitely impacting it for sure.
Oh, it has to be. It's like volcanic activity in Hawaii. The tourism has dropped off 70% now. This is a massive type of thing, and these are all these things that are going to start piling up. Forget about some crazy cataclysmic event. Even these type of events have a way to just carry over into the next, and then it compiles, and before you know it, there's going to be nowhere you can kind of go. It's very depressing. I have friends, like I said, on both coasts, and just the stuff they're showing me and posting and talking about, it's brutal. And I really wish the government would do something and take heed. It just doesn't even seem like the politicians are speaking much about it, at least on a national level. I'm not hearing anything about it.
I agree. It's crazy how little coverage it's getting, and it's mind-blowing. And then, I gotta think it feels like this is Agenda 21. In so many ways, it really feels like Agenda 21. Look what happened to Puerto Rico. They're kind of getting people out of all the nice areas, and they're going to herd them into like central areas.
Right.
It really does feel like that.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. It seems like they're almost allowing certain conditions to worsen and create an environment where it's either just going to kill off, or let's face it, a lot of people in Florida are elderly on top of it.
Right.
So now you're going to be dealing with, my God, the amount of people that would be affected by this type of environment is just mind-boggling. And then to, try to, where are they going to go? That's the other thing. So it's like, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario if this continues to worsen.
Yep.
I just hope and pray, for you and everybody down there that, you try to stay as healthy as possible. And I've been looking into it a lot with a lot of holistic people and things and naturalists and trying to figure out, what are things maybe that you can, be eating or nutritionally to kind of combat this type of, ailments related to this red tide condition, which I'm sure you're, very hip to. But just wanted to comment on that because I don't think people throughout the world really know what's going on in Florida. And tourist season starts in, 2-3 months. And those people are going to be pissed as hell when they get down there and, oh, sorry, you can't go to the beach. What? There's only so many swimming pools in Florida. So I just, hope and pray for you and everybody down there, and, hang in there, and, good talking to you, brother. Hope all is well for everybody else, and have a great night.
Thank you, KJ. Always a pleasure, brother. Take care.
All right.
So that was KJ. He's from New York, and he's a regular, and, what can you say? I mean, it's bad here. It's bad. I don't know how else to say that. It really does feel like it's threatening your health to stay in the area. It really does feel that's the case. And so many are leaving. And that's what the doctor in the ER told my friend today.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hello, Lee. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So now we have Lee Wheelbarger with us.
Thanks for having me.
No, my pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for being patient there. And, once we get going, the phones get off the hook. And unfortunately, I'm the only person that's screening it. So
I understand that you're a very popular individual.
Oh, thanks, Lee. So, Lee, this is what we're talking about, and this is what people are feeling, is that they feel like there's something more than just a grand solar minimum going on. There's a lot of suspicion here that so much of this is being manufactured. I was wondering what your thoughts are on this. I mean, do you think there's other things at play besides just the grand solar minimum?
Not really. I wish that we had the capability to harness energy and be able to have all these directed energy weapons and all of these great sci-fi things, but we're still limited to the rules of physics. So, if you want a really, really powerful laser in space, that's great, but you got to have wind power. So now you've got a substantial animal up there. It's not just this little, basketball, beach ball size thing. Now you've got a substantial object in space, and of course, NORAD can track things as small as your fingernail. So it's kind of hard to hide any of those things. And we have sensors up there that anytime anyone would ever fire the device, the very first time they fired it, within the first few nanoseconds, we would know that laser weapon was there, so we would be able to see it light up on our spectrum. That's how we're actually able to see when there's a rocket launch or a missile launch off the surface of the planet for an intercontinental ballistic missile or what have you. The exhaust plume out of the back of that missile emits specific frequencies of light. Those satellites have filters on them from companies like Stingray Filter here in Florida. I'm not sure if they're still in business, but that's who we used to get some of our filters from. And by the way, they can see an algae bloom with some of their filters as well, and how far that has progressed out into the Gulf of Mexico, and so on and so forth, as well as to the Gulf Stream. But with those sensors, and when you put those filters on them, as that missile is launched, you're actually able to see that frequency of light coming off of it and say, hey, there's a missile launch here. And that's how we detect when these things happen. So, if somebody was up there with a laser beam and they were firing it down, we would be able to detect it on the ground. Our sensors would see it. Other countries' sensors would see it. What is the site? And trust me, Russia and no other country puts anything in space that the U.S. military doesn't know about. As soon as it leaves the ground, they're all over it. And most of the time, they know it's going to leave the ground before it leaves the ground. They see the preparations. There are spy satellites flying over all of the time now. I mean, in some parts of the world, there are more spy satellites flying over than there are birds. So, nothing happens on this planet that you can't see. With the radar capability that they have on board these satellites, they can tell if you're sitting and if you are sitting in a lazy boy, and if your lazy boy is reclined, and if you've got a beer on the table next to you, how much beer is in the can. So, that's the level of the sophistication
evolution of the technology as far as the sensors, but to be able to make things that, can light forests on fire and do all these other things. No, that's, you can light up an area about the size of anywhere from a golf ball or a little smaller down to a marble with a small laser to an area about the size of a tennis ball, baseball size with a larger laser, like an airborne laser or one of the defense laser systems from Raytheon to shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles. And then that still requires, with that laser beam shining on the casing of the outside of that inbound missile, that still requires anywhere from 5 to 15, maybe even as long as 20 seconds, depending upon the atmospheric conditions, what the casing of the missile itself is made out of, the velocity it's traveling, the temperature of the casing at the time, and any other degradation and so on and so forth in that, which is what determines the time that it takes for that inbound missile to come apart. So, that's where I'm at as far as the technology.
So everything that we're seeing right now, you feel is really pretty much just, it's to be expected with the grand solar minimum and everything that we have coming. And I know I've listened to you before talking with Diamond, and we're expecting pretty much a big intensification next year from even what we're seeing now. Would you say
right
that's
now,
true?
We're already seeing it. So, and what we're seeing in the sky is expected. If you want to see what the sky is going to look like for the next 30 years, go back and look at all the paintings from the last time we had the little ice age, because you're starting to see those skies now. And with the decreased magnetosphere, more coronal holes, more particles coming in, higher charge magnetosphere, ionosphere, greater lightning, greater sprites. The lightning is up, the sprites are up, the blue jets, you name it, everything electrical pertaining to this planet, with the exception of the magnetosphere, as far as electrical potential, we're going up. So, it's only going to continue to get more charged as the sun gets weaker. More charges come into us, and more of it is not captured by the magnetosphere. It's coming into the ionosphere and coming into the planet. That's going to more evenly distribute out that energy and give us a greater charge potential, and we're going to continue to see this much higher intensity lightning, more of the positive lightning strikes. And somebody said that, and I'm not the one that started this. Someone had said that they witnessed the tower on the bridge in Italy being hit by lightning, and when the lightning strike struck the bridge collapsed. And people say, well, bridges get hit every day, all the time. Why would this one collapse and others don't? Well, it is possible. So here's how it's possible. First off, the bridge is 51 years old and in very poor maintenance. So if you have a bridge that's that old, in poor maintenance, in a driving storm, high winds, so on and so forth, you're going to have rain and water all over the outside of it. If you have inside of that bridge steel rods that go down, even steel pipes that go down that may be full of water, if lightning is to hit that and to travel down through that electrical connection to the ground, be it the piece of rebar, be it the water that has seeped down through it, what have you, for every square inch of water you have inside that column, the moment that it's energized by that positive lightning strike, it is now 1,600 times stronger. Concrete and stone works under compression, and as long as it's under compression, it will support that weight. However, when you have a detonation or an expansion, or what would technically be referred to as a BLEVE, which is a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, which is when that high energy of that positive lightning strike comes down through that electrical conductor, every little drop of water in there on it ionizes instantaneously and becomes 1,600 times larger. Now you have superheated steam, and people have seen trees get hit by lightning, and it blows the bark off of them, or totally obliterates a telephone pole. Well, positive lightning always obliterates a telephone pole. In fact, a single positive lightning strike I've seen obliterate 5 telephone poles. So for a positive lightning strike to come down and hit and blow the top out of that bridge. It doesn't have to blow it out all the way down. It only has to blow out the small area where a main support is. And when it does that, and that collapses, the weight of the bridge, building inertia as it starts to fall, when it catches again, it's going to continue to collapse and the whole thing would go down. So that's how it could happen. I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm just saying as you have more of these positive lightning strikes, the impacts that they produce when they hit are becoming much, much, much more prevalent and doing much greater damage. Another prime example, just here 2 weeks ago in Tampa, Florida, a lady laying on her bed in her bedroom. Lightning comes in through the roof of the house, makes its way through the attic, comes down into the ceiling next to the air conditioning vent in the roof, blows an area the size of your hand out of the roof. The electricity from the lightning bolt then spreads throughout the entire ceiling of the bedroom, going in and frying the electrical fan in the room, and then after making its way all the way, through the roof, through the ceiling of her bedroom, shorting out through the fan and having a path to ground, it still arced into the room and left scars on her left arm. And you can see the electrical scarring, or the electrical pathways on her arm as that positive lightning was trying to discharge through her. And I think the only thing that saved her was she was lying on her bed. Had she been standing in her room or standing next to the window, it might have been a whole lot worse for her. So, these are the things we're going to be seeing with the rain that we're talking about in the central part of the United States, going up through the Northeast, all the flooding that they're having up there, the earthquakes that we're now seeing in northern Alaska that we haven't seen since, I think it was 1977, the same time that we had the blizzard in Buffalo. So there are a lot of things that are cycles. It's a 206-year cycle, and it's going to be coming back around. I mean, it is coming around. This is the bottom of it. It started in April of 2014. My memory serves correctly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about those Alaskan quakes because they looked unusual to me, seeing that massive swarm.
Oh, it is. We had, I think, 300 and some odd quakes, and 200 of them were there over a 24-hour period. And my wife asked me, is it fracking? And I was like, no, dear, I don't think so, because these quakes are at 10 miles down, and I'm not aware of anybody that fracks at 50,000 feet. So, there might be something somewhere out there in the world, but I'm not aware of it. So, and the last time we had these was, in 77, I believe it was. So, we're seeing things there. We're seeing volcanic activity in Hawaii and the New Madrid Fault. We just had the little 2.0 down there, but we haven't had one there in a long time. And I've been telling people for years now, the New Madrid's going to wake up and we're going to start seeing activity there. Sure enough, today we've got our first little quake on the New Madrid Fault. Of course, my phone started ringing off the wall. Oh my God, Lee, there was a quake like you said. And I said, well, you don't have to call me every time one of my predictions comes true. It's not my prediction. All I'm saying is Earth has a cycle, the sun has a cycle, and these things happen every time. And all I'm telling you is the last time this happened, this is what happened, and everything that happened last time in the same order it was happening last time is happening again this time. So, that's all I can tell you, and tell you the progressions of it and how it's happening, and try to understand the science and explain it as simple terms as I can. But exactly what we have been saying would happen for years is exactly what is happening at the exact same rate we've projected for the last 3 years. So I don't see that we are doing anything above and beyond what we predicted, other than the sun is falling off a little bit faster than we had originally anticipated. I think we're about 10% faster in its decrease in intensity than what we had originally anticipated going into this particular minimum. So we're fairly certain that the next solar cycle will only be about 70% of this particular solar cycle, if that.
So okay, we're this is something that we're just gotta live with. For most of us, if not all of us, it's going to be something that's going to affect us for the rest of our lives.
Absolutely, and this is the beginning of it. You're not even really seeing it yet. It's, I was talking to somebody on another show, and I explained it as, everybody knows what Grandma's apple pie tastes like. Right now, you're only getting a whiff of Grandma's apple pie from the driveway compared to what you're going to be tasting in 2030 and 2050, because you're going to be eating it, and now you're just taking a little sniff. So we're just barely seeing the effects. People don't realize how much the earth changes when you start decreasing the energy that hits it. Everybody goes, well, clouds don't play that much of an effect. Clouds play the largest effect in the amount of total solar radiance that hits this planet than anything and everything else combined several times over. Because the fact of the matter is, we see 1,360 watts of energy per square meter that hits our planet from the sun. If you were to take the clouds out, that would jump from 1,360 to 1,390, because clouds reduce TSI by on average of 30 watts per square meter. So people talk about, the total amount of anthropogenic warming is equivalent to 1.5 watts. Well, if you just increase cloud cover by only 10%, you've already dropped the amount of TSI by 3 watts. That's twice what they said all anthropogenic warming combined would be. So now we're already at negative 1.5 watts per square meter. If we just increase cloud cover by 10%, well, guess what? They're projecting cloud cover to increase by more than 13% already, just from the increased cosmic rays and galactic cosmic rays streaming into our atmosphere now. So how can you forget everything else? Just the clouds. So if you want to know about clouds, listen to Heinrich Svenmark. And if you want to know about the research that what the cloud chamber did at CERN, look at the very early work of Dr. Jasper Kirkby. Don't look at the later on work when they were trying to fudge it as much as possible. And then they actually put some things out to try to disprove Heinrich Svenmark. He reviewed their work, rebutted it, and proved again that they were wrong and he was right. So, Heinrich Svenmark's work, I encourage everyone to read John Casey's book, Upheaval. I also encourage everyone to look at, what they're talking about with Valentina Zarkova's work, the electromagnetic fields in the sun and how they're going out of phase. That will decrease the amount of electromagnetic field on the sun to below, I think it's 3,000 gals, and at below that level, the sun itself is actually incapable of making a sunspot. And so if you look right now, we don't have any. So, when you don't have sunspots, the earth gets a little cooler.
Yeah,
because of increased cloud cover.
you're like the fourth person in less than a day that's brought up Upheaval. That book, Upheaval. So
Yeah, John, I've interviewed John, and I've researched everything John has produced. I've watched every video John has ever made, and every video that anyone has ever made of John 3 or 4 times. I've reviewed, because I want to, if I'm going to research something, I want to reach it to the nth degree. So I researched John's work, and then I researched the stuff that Jack Eddy did, and then I went back and studied all of the sunspots, how the sunspot numbers were done, and the research and how they changed the sunspot counts, and I researched all of that, and I started on plasma physics, and I studied plasma physics from the University of India to learn how the sun works and the Sapphire Project. I've just continued to, I've got 9,000 hours into this, and the people that the best information is from John Casey, Valentina Zarkova, the DAP 2030, Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch, and some other people, that have channels out there. Ice Age Farmer. I know I'm missing people, but there's some quick ones that come to mind. And so, these people are doing research every day and showing we're losing crops here, the temperatures are dropping there, the ice is increasing here, what the IPCC is saying is wrong, so on and so forth. We put a lot of time upheaval, dark sun, and cold winter. I believe are the names of the 3 books that he has out.
So what's your personal thoughts on the works of Velikovsky?
You know, I don't really follow Velikovsky's work. I have moved into the electric universe theory and how electricity travels through the galaxy, and I do believe that there is some planets in collision, that there can be things of that, and there can be electrical discharges and so on and so forth. So I haven't studied everything that he has written, as far as what's new in his book, Planets in Collision or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read his book. I have studied some of the things that he theorizes, and I do believe that some of what he does. I highly believe in Dr. Scott from Electric Universe Theory. I agree with most everything that he says, and I have some ideas for him as well that I don't think he's thought of yet. Because I figured with the laminar probe it was going to fry before he even stuck it in there, but they figured it out after they did, figured out how to deal with it. But I was looking at the double layers within their plasma field. I was figuring that you're going to have that because, and again, someone has written a paper, and I haven't read his paper as far as how when you have a plasma sphere and you have your double layers and multiple layers, about how the individual atomic elements break down in the different layers based upon what they are, whether it be hydrogen, lithium, what have you. And those are the layers inside, and they build potential between those layers. And when you try to arc something across that, it uses that as a conductor and just keeps it at an atomic level. So that's why it just crystallizes when you touch it and shatters. But yeah, you got to study plasma physics for a while to understand how all that works. But that's what's going on, and basically we're pretty much convinced the sun is no longer how should we say, a self-sustaining thermonuclear explosion. On the other hand, we are now seeing through observation of how the sun works and being able to create a miniature sun inside of a giant, like 2.5 ton chamber. Inside this laboratory, we can actually make this sun do almost everything that our sun is doing, including the same particles and frequencies and energy levels and spectrums and so on and so forth, emitting off of it. And it's kind of like the way to explain it is, if you're a bird expert and you know exactly what, say, a finch sounds like, and so if you go somewhere else and there's a crow there, and the guy says, that's a finch, and you say, no, I know what a finch sounds like, I can hear that, that's a crow. Well, that's the acoustic signature of those two different birds. And so now we actually have a visual spectrum, thermal spectrum, radio spectrum that emits from our sun, and we can look at that radio spectrum and look at all the emissions, whether they be X-rays or what have you, gamma rays and all that going on. And so we can say, okay, that's sun. And now we've actually been able to make a miniature one using electricity and plasma inside of what these guys from the Electric Universe put together with Dr. Donald Scott and some other folks. And they've created this miniature sun inside of a chamber. And it does exactly the same thing as the one in the center of our solar system. And we're now able to say, hey, look, guys, we've got the same bird you've got, and this is how it works. And there's no thermonuclear explosion, there's no radiation, there's no breaking all the laws of physics. There's none of that stuff. We're just doing it with simple electricity, and ta-da, all of our models match what we represented, and all of that matches what our sun is. So now we have a new theory about how the sun in the middle of our solar system works, and how all other suns work, and that energy traveling through the universe with Lorentz currents. And if anybody knows anything about electricity, you got a left-handed rule and a right-handed rule. Well, just imagine if we are an electron and we're flowing down a Birkeland current through the universe. The current would be flowing around that Birkeland current. And so just like we're flying through the universe, we're riding that current. And guess what? The planets are going around that Birkeland current, just like the magnetic field, but left-handed or right-handed.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I think you're exactly right. I totally do. The more I've looked into it, the more I'm completely sold on that model, and it just makes sense. Think about like as above, so below, and I don't know. I mean, you've probably seen the photos where, if you look at the universe that we know, and we look inside a human brain, they look so similar. So what's going between the neural synapses? It's an electric charge, and that's probably what's going in between all the stars, electric charges.
Yeah, these are Birkeland currents that string out through the universe. Everything is powered off those currents. We're all interconnected. Everything is powered off everything else. That's why we've actually been able to model the Crab Nebula and all of these other celestial objects simply using only the rules of electricity. If you get rid of the gravity and the dark matter, and my joke is dark matter only exists in the gray matter of those that don't know any better. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing that supports. There's been billions of dollars spent trying to support dark matter. And I have a friend of mine who's a physicist who is a double doctorate and works at CERN, and he and I debate this all the time, and I just keep driving the nails in his coffin every time I see him. I mean, he doesn't even come visit anymore and won't answer the phone because I keep proving that there is no dark matter. There's nothing that supports that. If you look at how the universe works, that figure is not necessary to make everything work. And so why try to inject something that is, not required? Go back to Occam's razor, where it's as simple as possible. And when you look at the simplicity of electricity and, plasma as a fourth state of matter and how that energy interacts and the particles that it emits and how the voltage across that changes the interaction of that as its potential, that is basically what our sun is, and that is what these guys from the Sapphire Project, and I highly encourage everyone to look up Sapphire, S-A-F-I-R-E, on YouTube, and you Google it, and research that, and you don't know something about it, ask me, or look at one of the, many other shows I've done on the subject, or take a little bit of plasma physics. It's not that hard, and you'll quickly understand a lot more about the universe. In fact, we were calculating it up the other day, that the number of people that actually truly understand how the sun works, and we had calculated it up to, it was like 1/100th of a percent, or 1/10,000th of a percent of the population of the planet actually understands that the sun is electrically charged, as opposed to what everybody in the world has been teaching. I mean, I kind of feel like the day that we figured out that the world was round, I just hope it doesn't take 300 years for everybody else to realize it. So, the crazy part about it is there's still people who believe that the Earth is flat. So, now we're at thousands, whatever.
And they also think it's only either 6,000 or 7,000 years old. But,
right.
the electric universe, it just makes perfect sense, and everything falls into place so beautifully with that whole theory.
Yeah, I've been following it. So, did you have questions? Your followers got questions? What did you want to discuss tonight?
Well, one of the things that came to mind is I know you're also a fellow Floridian, and I know it's kind of in the southern central part, I believe. I'm not sure, Highlands County or what area you're in.
Actually, I'm sitting right on the canal that gets from Lake Okeechobee to Fort Myers.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, when we look at what people have lived in the past, and I think one of the things that perplexed us in so many ways is saying, okay, well, if there were these advanced civilizations that lived on Earth, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, because there's so many artifacts that point to that. But why were they living in stone? But perhaps this is why. Because, to be in a metal structure is not going to be a good idea in these times.
Well, you have to not only look at that, but look at all the ancient cities that there is in the Middle East that are underground. That
Yes.
hold 10, 20, 30,000 people per each one of these. And the crazy part about it is we're still finding them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, people have known they were there. I mean, one was just found here, I think, like just 10 years ago. So, and they had, fires that they could burn underground, and livestock underground, and water flowing underground, and everything underground in these cities to hold these people. Because what people don't realize is with these, when you talk about worlds in collision and plasma discharges and so on and so forth, and then you go into plasma geology, which is where people were seeing that parts of the earth were formed as far as mountains and like natural chimneys, and Mount Solon, Virginia, and other places were formed by electrical discharge onto the planet and eroding that away. And you can look at Andrew Hall's work and other people's work on plasma geology, and you can actually see the scarring. And when you look at all of the examples that they have demonstrating what plasma arc discharge does, and then what it would do on a grand scale, and then you can actually see the supersonic wind harmonic shock waves in the abutments coming down from the side of the mountains. You can actually take aerial photographs and measure the distances between that and prove that that's not erosion, that is created by a harmonic shock wave, because the measurements show that the winds blowing over that area from the updraft of the plasma discharge were in excess of 2,500 miles an hour. And we can see that from the patterns of the harmonic of the shock waves. So, it changes how you look at the planet when you realize it's not anything at all like what everybody told you. And, the big problem that we have is the last time we went through a grand solar minimum was, 206 years ago. So, at that time, George Washington was able to ride a horse across New York Harbor because New York Harbor was frozen solid. Can you tell me how cold it has to be for New York Harbor to freeze solid enough that you can ride a horse across it? Remember, that's ocean water and salt water.
Right.
So, not in recorded history since we've had a thermometer in the United States has that ever been recorded. So how cold was it? A whole lot colder than it's been since we've had a thermometer.
And Lee, how about the reports that the sun is at a 9,500 year low?
Correct.
That's going to blow away all these ones that you're just talking about now. So, we're going to wish it was only that bad.
Right, because of the fact that when you look at the magnetic fields of the sun and going out of phase at least, there's 4 fields. 2 are going out of phase, then about a cycle later, the other 2 are going out of phase. And that's an ugly thing, because you have a 400-year cycle and a 200-year cycle. The 400-year cycle was worse. The bad part is the last cycle we had was the 200-year cycle, and that's when George rode the horse across New York Harbor. This time around, it's the 400-year cycle, but it's the worst 400-year cycle of them all. So, I highly encourage everyone to look at Valentina Zarkova's work. Look at the projections that Dave from Adapt 2030 has put together, and the work from, Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch, and what, how to grow things, and the research that Christian from Ice Age Armor is doing, and you guys can see, all these people are reporting all of these things and showing where, the temperature on the planet is falling, the temperature in the Atlantic, the AMO, the PDO, the Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation, and the Pacific decadal oscillation are falling. the warm water in the Pacific this past cycle did not penetrate nearly as deeply into the Pacific Ocean, so it's not as warm as it was before. In fact, it only penetrated down about 30% as far as it did before. So we're going to be seeing, when that happens, we see warmer temperatures up in Alaska, so on and so forth, and then we see colder across the part of the United States with more rain across the part of the United States in torrential rains. So it's not nice, light, gentle rains like we used to have. We have these torrential downpours, atmospheric compressions, flooding, 4 inches in a rain, or 4 inches of rain in an hour, a year's worth of rain in a day. I mean, there's unbelievable rains that are taking place, hailstones almost the size of softballs. Unbelievable horizontal winds recorded in China. 300,000 cars totaled by hail in 15 minutes in China. I mean, and why is China being hammered so hard? It's because they are the ones who were putting so many particles into the atmosphere. We're trying to make rain, so much pollution, and all of that is seeds for all of this cloud nucleation and these torrential rains. So if you pollute, you're going to pay, and they are, and they will. And this has happened before, so we're just going to see it again. Just this time it's going to be worse.
And so many people have been yelling at me forever to get out of Florida because it's going to be underwater. Yet, honestly, I mean, the red tide's one thing, and I have gotten out of the coast. I'm not on the coast anymore, and I'm staying away from the coast because of the red tide. But however, when I look at everything going on in the world and I see what's going on in Florida weather-wise, we're doing pretty good, actually. I mean, it hasn't been bad here at all.
Right, and we're going to have the torrential rains. We're going to have flooding because when you go into a grand minimum, when you're in the grand minimum, precipitation decreases globally by an average of about 80%. So the problem is you have the nucleation now, but you've still got the warmer planets. So you've got the evaporation to get the moisture in the air and the storms and so on and so forth. But as the planet gets colder, you have less evaporation. You still have the nucleation, but you don't have the evaporation to have those saturated clouds. And so you don't get as much rain, you just get a lot less sunlight, so the planet continues to cool. The problem is when you do get a situation where you get a coronal hole stream coming in, and you've got nucleation in, and you've got the humidity, now all of a sudden you get an atmospheric compression, you get the next thing you know, you get flooding all over the place. So you go from having no rain at all for weeks to months to now you got 6 inches in the last hour. And that's not what you need when you're in a drought, because the ground's so hard it just runs right off and washes away all your topsoil and you're screwed. And so that's the problem that they had the last time we had a grand solar minimum, and I foresee us, the planet's going to do the same thing over again. It's how we deal with it is what's going to make the difference. Our survival is up to each of us. We know it's coming, whether you're going to do something about it or not, it's up to you.
So you personally, now you're staying put where you are, right? You don't have any plans to move to a different location in the country, out of the country. You're gonna ride this thing out.
My wife and I live on a yacht, so we have this electric blue solar yacht. You can follow us on Patreon, or we're gonna have a YouTube page, so on and so forth. So I'm trying to build the largest privately owned, privately built converted solar power yacht in the world.
Wow.
Not like Planet Solar, which was done by all these corporations and multi-billionaires. This is just a crazy redneck who thinks he can prove that he can do a solar powered yacht. So we're here doing repair damage from Hurricane Irma that ripped off our solar array and broke up some other things and damaged some other boats here in the marina. So we're going to launch this, and we're trying to have an EMP-proof yacht. I'm speaking with a company in Texas about doing that. So those negotiations are completed. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But the goal is to have a completely EMP-proof solar yacht that makes its own water, makes its own electricity, can propel itself 300 miles on a single charge, runs all the onboard air conditioners, refrigerators, ice makers, washers, dryers, water heaters, everything else on it, and can comfortably transport 8 people on a vessel, basically anywhere in the world, doing all of it off solar power into it, comfortably, as opposed to having a sailboat with a mast and sails, and you got to worry about the wind and all this, that, and the other. So that's the goal. And so my wife and I have endeavored on doing this. So we're still trying to finish putting the thing together, and we're hoping to splash it at the end of this month. And then when we're done, we're hoping in the spring to go on a 6,000-mile voyage around the Great Loop. So we would leave Florida, go up the East Coast, go up through New York City, go up the Hudson River to Albany, New York, go through the Federal Lock, get on the C&O Canal, go all the way over to the Great Lakes, go through the Great Lakes, down through Chicago, get on the Illinois Canal, take that down to the Mississippi for a short while, get on the Ohio, go up to the Kentucky River, go across Kentucky Lakes, get on the Tom Coopee Waterway, follow that all the way back down to Mobile, Alabama, come back out in the Gulf, come back out in Fort Myers or where we are, or wherever we so decide to choose to start from. That's the goal. And so I have thermal imagers and radar and underwater sonars and side scan sonar and all this other high-tech James Bond stuff strapped all over the boat. It's got about 70 kW of power, about the same amount of electricity as a Tesla car. And when we have both of the arrays put back on the boat, we'll have almost 10 kW of solar array on the vessel. So we're 40 foot long, 24 foot wide, can move about 6 or 7 knots if we need to. 4 electric motors as a pod on the front, 2 maneuvering thrusters on either arm on either side, and we have a warp 9, 300 horsepower, 200 horsepower, whatever, it's electric motor in the back, but we can't pull 30 horsepower off of it. We're not planning on using that much. So that's where I'm at. So we can move or do whatever we want. But as far as a safe spot, yes, between the middle part of Florida is a fairly decent place to be. Still have a possibility of snow because the Indians told us all about the white rain. They had that for 8 years straight during the last one.
That sounds really exciting. So, you're talking basically the middle of Florida. So you're still going to stay in the States, though. You're not going to head to Central America, South America, Africa, or anything.
Don't want to be anywhere near the Ring of Fire.
Right. Right. So obviously you're not worried then about tsunami. You're not worried about sea level rise because really it should actually decrease.
Go down 400 feet.
Yeah. So ultimately,
when you go to full glaciation, the seas decrease about 400 feet. It's a contraction of water.
So the peninsula of Florida probably doubles or triples in size.
It does. It doubles in size. Yes, sir.
Yeah. And for me, it's one of those things I think was just instinctive. For like the last 20 years, I just felt like gotta get out of the north. It was just kind of a thing that was kind of instinctive even before I started looking into the grand solar minimum and everything that was going to be happening along this line. I've had these dreams that have plagued me since I was a kid, showing me these things, but I never thought about it from a scientific point of view until maybe the last like 10 years or so. And now I know why. It's like it's bigger than just liking the sun and craving the warmth. I actually feel like, if you're in the northern tier of the U.S. or if you're in Canada, or if you're in northern Europe, it's going to be tough to live there.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be very tough to live there. In fact, if you're much above, 30 degrees, you're going to have a difficult time as far as latitude, either above or below the equator.
Wow.
So yeah, you're going to see some real cold weather difficulties with the grid handling the increased electrical load, trying to keep vehicles warm, trying to keep houses warm, infrastructure that is not designed to deal with the extreme cold freezing up, being it water supplies or wastewater treatment facilities, waterways freezing, pipes in homes freezing, pipes in under the streets of cities freezing. I mean, we're already seeing this. We look at Omaha, Nebraska last year had like 10 times more water breaks in their winter than they've ever had in any winter prior. That's because the cold was so cold. It was penetrating down and then freezing the water mains under the ground. You know, my wife and I traveled to Texas, and we did that during the big freeze. And there were, across I-10, there were a variety of different municipalities and truck stops and other facilities where their wastewater treatment facilities had frozen solid, and the raw sewage was just running out all over the ground. And, you know, what do you do? There's nothing you can do. You know, you can't heat the place up. You can't stop the septic. It's got to go somewhere. And so what happens when you have a prolonged period of, say, 3 months, and your wastewater treatment facility has frozen solid for that period of time?
So Lee, let me recap that. You just said if you're above 30 degrees latitude, you're in trouble. And that's like Jacksonville, Florida is at like 30 degrees latitude.
Yep. There, when you look at the historic record of what the coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama endured during the last grand minimum, they endured winters as brutal as the extreme northeastern parts of the United States. So, if you're enduring brutal winters on the Gulf Coast of Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana, can you imagine what it's like in New York and Massachusetts?
Oh, I can't imagine at all.
You're talking about in the wintertime, the capability of the entire Chesapeake Bay freezing solid all the way down into the northern parts of North Carolina. So you're talking Norfolk being frozen in solid.
All right, so
Yeah,
can I ask you? I mean, you know, I've wondered this about. I mean, I enjoy Diamond, and actually, he gives me laughs every single day because I do check in, and I love his humor. And I've seen Rex from Leak Project. You know, he's moved to Southern Colorado as well. I was considering Southern Colorado as well, but you know, I hate the freaking cold. I hate it.
you and me both.
And I can't stand it. And then the thought of like, how cold is it gonna be there when it really cranks on? And you know, I know he's got plans. He's gonna, you know, have greenhouses and everything going. But still, it's gonna be so damn cold, you know, over there in Pagosa Springs.
Well, I just hope they, you know, it's not far from the Wolf Creek pathway, but I hope that he digs a hole in the ground and installs some umbrella homes and earth tubes. And, you know, one of the shows we actually talked about, he was installing some earth tubes and so on and so forth. So, you know, with that, with, you know, greenhouses and so on and so forth, and energy, and, you know, you might be able to do it. I don't know. I'm not daring enough to try it. Not at my age at that location. I would much prefer to be somewhere where I can throw a fishing line off the back and catch some fish. If it's too cold, I just turn the bows more towards the equator, hit the accelerator, and away we go. You know, that's be able to make my own water, have my own air conditioning, ice makers, and have an EMP hardened vessel. So it doesn't matter if we have an EMP or we have a CMP. You know, it's not going to affect the live work capabilities of my vessel. So that's, you know, that's how I'm protecting myself. And, you know, I've been looking for a cost-effective technical solution to be able to have solar, an inverter, a charge controller, a generator controller, and be able to make electricity and manage that battery bank in a system that is completely hardened from a CME and an EMP in a very cost-effective package. And so I've been working on this for a number of years. I already have someone like that on my vessel, but I'm talking to these other people, and I'm hoping that we can work work out some type of agreement with them that I can evaluate, because I will not recommend any technology until I've proven it myself. Because when I put my name on it, that is putting my name on it, and there's no amount of money that somebody can pay me for putting my name on something. If they haven't earned it, they're not going to get it, because I'm not going to disgrace myself for a dollar bill when people have depended upon my recommendations for 30 years, almost 40 years now, and I'm not going to change that. So I want to test these guys' equipment, and if it works as they say that it does, then I would happily prescribe that to everyone as a solution for anybody to put into their home, their vehicle, their RV, their bunker, what have you, as a hardened solution for EMP and CME. And the thing is, during grand solar minimums, CMEs are present. They just go hand in hand because of the magnetic instabilities of the sun. So when you look back at the Carrington event of 1859 and what that did, that was only an X27 flare. The flare we just had last year was an X47. So way more powerful. And had we been 3 months further along in our progression around the sun, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Most everybody on this planet would be with that electricity, and we would all be living in 1859 right after the Carrington event with no electricity whatsoever. The problem is our infrastructure is not designed to operate in 1859, even though that's where we would be. And so the die-off on the planet would be significant because we would be unable to supply the population with food and supplies. We'll be unable to supply the population when it happens. So when we have an earthquake up through New Hampshire Fault, we have earthquakes out west, we have these CMEs and so on and so forth. All of these things are going to cripple the infrastructure of not only this particular country, but other countries around the world when it takes place. And people are going to be on the road. There isn't going to be a guy banging on your door from the federal government going, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. That guy's not going to show up. You're on your own, and you will have to fend for yourself and fend off those who have not prepared. So you need to have beans, bullets, and band-aids, and do so immediately, because time is up. The grand solar minimum has already begun.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said there, I mean, these are things that have been running through my head. And the thing, you know, some people are afraid of tsunamis and crustal displacement and all that. And you know, I feel like there is some evidence for crustal displacement, but I'm much less worried about that than the cold, because it's going to get damn cold quick. You know, we were looking at the ice, the Arctic ice. It's increasing. It's going to keep increasing. We see the Atlantic's very cold. So at least if you're in a coastal area, in a warm area, at least you could potentially fish. You know, and at least you're not going to freeze to death. Because what happens if it's December or January and there is a CME and you're living, I don't know, Buffalo, New York, maybe you're even living in Cleveland, maybe you're even living in DC, and the actual temperature is going to be 20 below. Are you going to be able to live?
No, they won't. And that's the problem that these people are going to have, is that there is going to be times, and when you look at it, I highly recommend everybody go look at Piers Corbin's work. He's from the UK. He's the #1 weather predictor long-term on the planet. And he talks about how the jet stream changes from being somewhat flat and wavy and going around the planet, both above and below the equator, to being more jagged and more of a north-south type of jet stream. And when it does that, it brings these massive cold jets like Alberta clippers and so on and so forth diving down into the United States and other countries around the world on the northern hemisphere. And as those cold temperatures come diving down in with those on the jet stream and in those highs, the lows come up from the south and interact. You've got huge temperature potential difference between the temperature masses of the hot, wet air coming up from the tropical regions into the cold, dry air. So it gives you violent storms, hail. Then we've got a charged atmosphere from particles, more lightning, devastating rain, atmospheric compression events. And it's just devastating to those regions. And so now, you say you go through one of these events, you have a CME, or Or you don't have a CME, you just have one of these blizzards come through and takes out the electrical grid, and you're blanketed in 6 feet of snow for a month. What do you do then? Because you have no power, you can't go anywhere. It'll be just like Buffalo in the late 70s. So, these are the things that we're going to start seeing this winter. I've been saying for years, this winter is the winter that we will start to see it. And everything that I've been saying right along goes right along with the pattern of what RC theory is. It's the 206-year pattern. The cooling, the drop-off in the sunspots, the slight drop-off in TSI, the increase in extreme UV, and that's the other important things, folks. Please, for you, your children, go get UV protection sunglasses, because you will have cataracts. Extreme UV causes cataracts, and with the increased amount of extreme UV going up during this over the next 10, 20, 30 years, all the way up to 2030, 2050, the amount of extreme UV is going to go through the roof. So make sure you're wearing long sleeve shirts. You've got shirts that have UV protection. Stay out of the sun all you can. And by all means, buy UV protection sunglasses for yourself and UV protection sunglasses for your kids. Because if you don't, as this continues on, by the time your kids are 50 or 60, they're not going to be able to see from the cataracts they're going to have. So that is the number one thing I recommend for everybody. Stay out of the sun. Get UV, get all the different shirts you can get from, I can't remember all the names of the companies, Panama Bay and some others, Bimini Bay, makes UV protection shirts. So hats, glasses, but my God, get sunglasses for your kids and yourself, and make sure they are 100% UV protection. Polarized is what I recommend. That way you can columnized light that you're seeing, and you can see through the water, and you're not getting so much light in your eyes, so that you'll have, your eyes are very important. So protect them now while you can, because this is, it's like saying don't look into a welder. You need to protect your eyes and your skin from this, otherwise you're going to have skin cancer and everything else.
Lee, was last year the last year we're going to see devastating hurricanes like we saw, with Irma, Maria, and Harvey?
No.
No? Okay.
No. And so, if you look at some of the research, I tell people that the number of hurricanes will decrease. And then there's this new research that comes out that says that, there's more hurricanes during a grand solar minimum. I don't think it's the fact that there are more hurricanes. I just think there are a lot more storms that rain a lot more and give the effect of a hurricane. And they're seeing this deluge of rain in the historic record, and they're calling that a hurricane. So it's the same as what I was talking about. There's not a lot of rain, but when it comes heavy, it comes hard, it comes in a short period of time, and it floods with it. You get catastrophic flooding. And there are some regions of the country and of the world will actually start seeing more rainfall, like in the deserts. Look at the Sahara. We've had 2 snowstorms in the Sahara in the last 2 years. Prior to that, the last time that was happening was like 34 or 36. And back then it was a dusting of snow, and this time we had feet of snow, and it stayed for a period of time. So, we're seeing changes on this planet that haven't been seen for 200 years. And the other thing that people need to keep in mind is, they talk about, the 200-year flood or the 500-year flood. Okay, and they say, it happens once in 500 years. No. During that period of time, 500 years ago, or during that period of time, 200 years ago, it happens regularly. And we're coming into that regularly part of time, which is that 206-year cycle that John Casey talks about. So, we're going to continue to see this flooding in Maryland, Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, Delaware, anywhere, North Carolina. The flooding is not going to stop because of the torrential rains that we're going to get. I mean, when you look at just the state of Florida, on the average for the central part of the state of Florida, this year through our rainy season, we have seen over 2 inches every month above our average rainfall. And so now we're talking about having, an additional 24 to 36 inches of rain on the ground for this year. I mean, that's almost half or a little above half of what we normally get. When you normally are only supposed to get like 50 some inches or 48 inches for the year, you're going to get an additional 24 to 36. And so the water levels are rising. People's fields are going underground or underwater. The drainage systems are backing up. That's the problem with Lake Okeechobee here. We've got so much water pouring into Lake Okeechobee. It's got plenty of air in it. It's nutrients full. It balloons out in Lake Okeechobee, and then they open the gates and it flows out into Fort Myers or goes over into Stewart. Right now we've got prevailing winds off the west coast pushing most of the bloom over to the eastern side of the lake, which is good for Fort Myers and the western coast. And maybe that will help out a little bit with the green algae bloom and the red tide that we've got, which is unbelievably devastating. And like you were saying with your other guest, this is the worst year. Normally the algae bloom only lasts about 2 months, and this year it's lasted 10, so 5 times longer than normal.
So my thoughts were, for me personally, I fear the cold. I've always instinctively feared the cold, and now I think I know why I've always had this instinctive fear of the cold. So is it a good time to buy cheap, distressed, property in Puerto Rico? Or is that still going to be like a hazard, for instance?
I would stay away from islands. The problem with an island is you've got to deal with everybody on that island. You've got nowhere else to go. And if that island doesn't produce everything you need and everything else that everybody else on that island needs, then they're going to be trying to come and get it from you. So I would stay away from Puerto Rico or Bahamas or whatever. If you're going to go to the Bahamas, you need an island out in the middle of nowhere that you can do completely self-sufficient for yourself on. Because if you're on a crowded island, everybody's going to be robbing everybody else to get what everybody else has. And so if ships have to supply it, then that's not the place to be. So, I like places that have running water, places that have some altitude so there's a drop so that you can use that water to generate power. Everyone needs to have windmills that are wind powered and storage capability, hand pumps on those windmills so that they can pump the water themselves, because you're going to have to irrigate your own crops. You're going to have to deal with your own sanitation. You're going to have to produce your own water. You're going to have to produce your own food, because the electrical grid is not going to be able to support the colder climate. And then if we do have a CME or an EMP or what have you, the majority of the grid in the United States is going to be gone. And from a CME event, the majority of the grid around the planet will be gone. So that you won't be able to call the French or the British or the Germans or the Australians or whoever to come help you, because they're going to be up the creek without a paddle themselves. So, because what comes into the planet on one side comes out on the other side, and our magnetosphere wraps all the way around. So, large CMEs can last for days. So there will be no one who is unaffected. Doesn't mean it only takes 24 hours to go around once, and you have an event that lasts for 47, 56 hours. Everybody gets eaten by it, or at least everything's connected to the grid. And right now, there are only 3 states in the United States that are even protected or even beginning to be protected, and that's Louisiana, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And they've just started the implementation of their protective systems against EMP and CMP.
Can you share more with that? Because that's actually new to me.
What would you like to know? How in depth do you want to go?
I'm just curious. So North Carolina, South Carolina, and Louisiana are starting to take steps to protect their constituents. Their people against CMEs. That's really pretty wild and pretty cool.
Yes. So the U.S. and the Soviets have both detonated nuclear devices and done research on the effects of those. We did ours over the Pacific Ocean, way off 800 miles or so southwest of Hawaii. And the Soviets did it over land. I think it was over Pakistan, whatever it is. And they did it. We did it in July of 68 or whatever, and they did it in October. And they fried their entire electric grid that was buried underground, telephone lines, all kinds of damage. And so we actually, I think we got access, the U.S. government got access to that information, I think in 1993 originally for the Russians, and I don't think it was put into an official document for release to the public until like 2007. But that document is referred to as the EMP Commission. It's what their EMP Commission report is what they produced, and it talks about the effects of CME as well as EMP. And so the United States is aware of CME and EMP dangers to the grid, and the fact that a rogue nation like North Korea could use a simple World War II or Vietnam era SA-1, SA-2 missile with a crude nuclear device on it, and in a matter of just a few seconds could launch that from a cargo ship and basically cripple the critical infrastructure of the United States in less than 15 seconds. And so to prepare the United States against EMP from nuclear devices, both high altitude super EMPs, the low altitude EMPs, and man-made EMP devices, they have started programs in both North Carolina and South Carolina who are working together jointly as their electrical companies there are, and then the state of Louisiana has started implementing some power generation capability as well as distribution capability to protect against both CME and EMP. So those are the first 3 states in the United States to do that, and they're leading the way on doing so. But it requires special disconnects and monitoring systems and hardening and a variety of other things that are somewhat expensive. But when you look at the alternative of you're going to lose it all if you don't do this, that's spurring on the 68 major electrical distributors in the United States to follow the lead of Louisiana, North and South Carolina.
Well, that's awesome info. So one of the things I was going to ask is, because I do get this question from a lot of our family, the Evolutionary Energy Arts family, that are kind of up in the air and they feel like they don't know where to go. If you were going to stay in the United States, and I obviously feel that you think Florida is actually one of the places to be, what places would you say are the best places to plan for the long haul and to be in the long haul?
Well, when I was doing all of my research, what I did was I looked at all of the ocean sediments and all of the deep lake core sediments from all over the world to try to see if there were any periods of time of which they had years that they didn't have foliage or pollen within the core samples. And if they didn't have, a lot of foliage or pollen within the core samples, it meant that the plants didn't come to maturity because they didn't have growing cycle. And so anywhere that you didn't have these blanks during grand solar minimums is not a good place to choose to do agriculture. So when studying the state of Florida, I came across a line that goes from Tampa to Daytona. And the line is, if you draw a straight line from Tampa to Daytona, along that line, and 75 miles north of that line, and 75 miles south of that line. For some reason, don't know why, whether it's the Gulf Stream or jet stream patterns or what have you, whatever it is. But during grand solar minimum, during that strike, they always had pollen and they always had foliage, so they were always able to grow in the summer. And I think that even applied through the year of 1812, which was the year without summer. So that's the main reason that I've chosen that region across Florida, as to, pretty much ride it out. Because when you look at, going to Alaska, look at all the earthquake activity that they've got out there, the possibility for volcanic eruption, the proximity to the ring of fire, all the fault lines, the bitter cold, close proximity to Russia. So, that's not a good region for me. Look at Europe where they had, ice skating on the Thames, and all these other, cold weather events. So, that's the best that I've found in the United States. Like a Panama, and then you get back to the ring of fire, you're in the islands, then you've got volcanic activity, seismic activity. If you have a tsunami, you're there on the island. and then the resupply and how many other people are on the island. So that's why I've chosen, that Stryker, Florida.
So, even like Texas or California or, any of the Four Corners states.
Yeah, Texas, you're going to see massive flooding and drought. You're going to see hot and cold, and unbelievable rough weather. So, Texas, the Southwest, it's going to be dry now, but it'll be wet later on. So they're going to see flooding and so on and so forth up there. So, there's some, you can survive in the desert Southwest if you can survive it now. But, you're going to have to have your own water, you're going to have to have your own power, you're going to have to be 100% self-sufficient. And in places that commonly, get it into the triple digits in Fahrenheit every day, that's going to be hard living unless you're going to do it underground, which is, what people had to do in the past, and I feel like they're going to have to do it again in the future.
All very, very interesting. There's so much to take in, when it comes to this and all the changes. Oh, one other thing that hit my mind. So what do you think we would find at the center of the Earth, the core of the Earth? Is there a plasma core?
No. We'll just find more molten metal. It's the same all the way down. It's just, it's thicker. I don't believe we have a plasma core. I believe we just have a molten metal core, mainly of iron and, a little bit of nickel and so on and so forth. Super, super hot, super, super thin as far as the viscosity of the material because of the heat and the pressure and so on and so forth. But that's what produces the majority of the heat on this planet. About 70% of our heat comes from our core and through our magnetic fields, running that energy through that and heating that magma in our planet. So it's our magnetosphere that heats our core and passes that energy through. So if our magnetosphere sort of weakened, then the planet will also cool. So we've got more highly charged particles coming in from the sun that creates more depletion, more clouds, so less energy from the sun is getting here in the form of light energy. And then a decreasing magnetosphere, well, you got charged particles that come in, and that's heating that up and increasing some of the viscosity in there. But we're going to have a mantle that's cooling, so it's going to want to contract, while at the same time we have an interior core that's bringing in more highly charged particles and heating. It's going to try to expand, and when you have those two forces fighting each other, you're going to have more earthquakes and more volcanic activity. And John Casey and myself have been predicting this for years, and now we're seeing it with the uptick in volcanic activity within Hawaii and other places around the world, as well as the uptick in seismic activity we're seeing, like we just saw New Hampshire Falls and in northern Alaska in the last 2 days.
I don't know if we have enough time to get into this fully, but it just brings me into the expanding Earth theory. Do you think that modern plate tectonics is totally off center, or what are your thoughts along those lines with expanding Earth theory?
Well, I don't really think that we expand. I think that we are pulled at and tugged at by different forces in our universe and where we are in our orbit, and how other planets are. Our biggest influence is actually the moon. So because it's throwing the oceans around every day. So there was an alignment years ago, and I worked with JPO to calculate out, what it would change on the planet with all these planets lining up on one side. I think it was like April 5th of 97 or something, or whatever it was. But anyway, it was only changing the gravitational effect on the planet by 1/10 of 1%. So as far as like the plate displacement or the crust displacement, tsunamis and waves, yeah, I think things like that do happen and have happened. If something slips majorly and you have a huge substantial tsunami wave that moves across and just washes things away for miles and miles and miles. I don't think it's a case of where all of a sudden a giant continent just pops up out of the ocean and another continent just sinks down into the ocean. I don't think anything like that happens that radically, unless unless we've got, interplanetary or interstellar interaction that's messing with us in very close proximity or at extremely high energy levels. I mean, I'm more along the lines of plasma geology, slow morphing of the planet with the movement of the tectonic plates and the ring of fire, and then agitation of that by the cycles of the moon and the cycles of the sun going through its 206-year cycle, as well as the 150,000-year cycle as we pass through the spiral arms of the galaxy, and that plays into this as well. And when the planet is cooling, we have been cooling for thousands of years. We do so for a long time. And the one thing I did want to check was we can go from a climate warmer than we are now to full glaciation in as short as 3 years. The average is like 5 to 7.
Will you please say that again for everybody?
The planet Earth in history, when you go back 480,000 years, because that's all the further back I study after if you can't figure out the weather going back 480,000 years, it doesn't do you any good any further. So when you look at glaciation periods and glaciation cycles, the Earth is capable of going from a warmer climate than we are in right now to a full-blown glaciation climate in 3 years. The average is like 5 to 7 years to go into glaciation. Now, I'm not saying you're going to have glaciers a mile thick on top of New York City in those 3 years, but I will tell you, in that 5 to 7 years, when we do transition to that New York City's New York Harbor will surely be frozen in that 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's the thing that people don't seem to understand. And, I have a lot of people that I love and care about, say, up in Connecticut, up in Ohio, places where I've lived, and they still take me with a grain of salt, but it's that quick, it truly is that quick. It's not the day after tomorrow quick where, boom, you're going to freeze to death, in an instant, but it is quick. I mean, we're talking just a matter of a few years, where you're into a period of time where it's simply going to be unlivable in certain places.
And we'll start to see that, the beginning, or just the whiff, or, taste of it this coming winter. And we'll see that in the northern hemisphere like they've seen down in the southern hemisphere. I mean, here we've already had snow in Canada in July and snow in the Rockies in July. We're getting some really weird weather with these dramatic temperature changes, and it's not a case of, everybody goes, oh, I'm going to be freezing all the time. No, when this happens, the Earth only changes by just a few degrees. And so it's not, you still have hot summer days in the summertime. It's just that in the fall, instead of having cool days, it might freeze and kill off all your crops. Same thing happens in the spring where, you're supposed to have, spring crops coming up, and all of a sudden you get a hailstorm, or it freezes and snows overnight and kills off your entire crop. Now what do? You've lost for the season because you don't have the growing period to replant and grow again. And so that's what we're starting to see, and we're going to continue to see more of as we continue to progress into the Grand Salt Run.
Yeah, I mean, it's staggering to me, and honestly, it was starting to get to me a little bit, lately, just looking at all the figures coming in, because on a typical day, I spend 12 to 14 hours reading about this stuff and researching this stuff. And it could get very depressing at times, to see what's happening. And, there's so much crop loss already, and it hasn't even really kicked fully in yet, that it's just mind-blowing. And when I heard both David, from Adapt 2030, and Diamond, both making basically the same statement, saying that, 10 years from now, I mean, we might be at 7.6 billion people today, but there's probably going to be half that many people here in just a decade, from the starvation and, the effects of this cold weather that's going to be setting in and just making so much of the earth uninhabitable.
Well, if you have a CME event above the according to NASA and space weather prediction and so on and so forth, my understanding is anything above an X27 would be catastrophic to the planet. And so if you were to have an event like that during this, of which, when you're going into where you've got two magnetic fields that are going out of phase, and you're going to have regions of magnetic instability, and then we're going to come out of that, and then we've got two more fields that are going to do the exact same thing. That's a pretty good scenario for actually seeing one of these, considering we've already seen an X47, just within the last 6 months. That was so powerful. It just sent a shockwave tsunami across the backside of the sun, because it ejected out of the other side, and we saw the tsunami come across this side. So, if we were to get one of those, and that were to hit the planet, we would lose approximately 90% of the population that are in civilized countries that have critical infrastructure. You would lose approximately 90% of that population within the first 90 days to a year.
And is that mostly people killing each other over, critical supplies?
There's no supply of water and no supply of food. You shut down every water pump. You shut down every electric pump. You shut down every electric line in the continental United States. Where are you getting your water? Where are you getting your food? How's the truck going to get to you? How are people going to run their tractors to harvest that food? What's running the refrigeration in the stores? If you cut off power to a city, and you can still put generators in all the stores, every single one of those stores are completely sold out within 3 days. Because no store has greater than a 3 or 4 day supply of inventory. So when you stop that supply, and see that there's 38 critical infrastructures within the United States, and if you damage any of those individual 38 infrastructures, you critically affect the economic viability of the continental United States, and it comes and creates what's called an incident of national significance, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The problem is all of those 38 critical infrastructures depend upon one infrastructure, and that is electricity. So if you take the electricity away, you will take away all of the 38 critical infrastructures simultaneously, at which point modern civilization no longer exists, and you're back in the 1840s. So that's where you got to have your 5 years of supplies, your 5 years of seeds, your ability to get your own water, the ability to take care of yourself, and all the supplies that you need. Because when that happens, it will be just like the fall of Rome, except for it'll be global.
It's going to be pretty scary, and especially scary, I would think, in the northern latitudes and in the bigger cities.
Yeah, the higher latitudes, be it the northern or the southern latitudes, because you're going to have the exact same thing on the southern end of the planet, which
Right.
is 6 months out of phase with where we are now.
Right.
So, they're going to have just as much of a problem. So the people in, southern South America are going to be seeing issues. And then the people in Africa are going to have unbelievable issues with UV, because the UV there is going to be unbelievably high. So that's, because there are places on the planet right now that sunlight is like, around the Democratic Republic of Congo and other places, that the sunlight is so intense and so bright that when we go into a grand minimum and we start getting more of this UV coming in, it's going to be detrimental to the crops there. But yet in northern parts of Africa, more up towards the equatorial regions, and the central parts where they have some deserts around the Sahara and so on and so forth, they're going to see more rainfall and so on and so forth to be able to have agriculture in those areas they haven't had there for 200 years, because the weather patterns are going to change. And we can already see the dust coming off of Africa coming over to the continental United States now. It's unbelievable.
It is.
And I think that is what's helping to spur all these hurricanes that are coming off the west coast of of Central America and going out into the Pacific. Because all of that dust is particles that creates cloud nucleation. So all it has to do is absorb some moisture, and ta-da, you got instant cloud nucleation, and you've got the moisture in the air from that warm region. Ta-da, a little bit of a low, instant hurricane or typhoon.
Yeah, it's just like a conveyor belt. I've been saying that. It's just amazing, one after another after another. And yet the Atlantic is dead quiet.
Yeah, when you look at, like you watch Ghost 16 or what have you, and then you watch hurricanes at the same time that you have like a coronal hole stream start impacting the Earth, you can actually see the hurricanes jump up. I mean, if you look back when it was last year, we had 6 typhoons in the Pacific simultaneously, or possibly even 7. And they all flared up at the same time within 48 hours of a coronal hole stream hitting the planet. And that's just more evidence showing of what we're talking about. And we're going to see more of that. That's what's going to cause all this flooding, these massive rainstorms and atmospheric depressions and deluges, places being washed away and flooded, and loss of crops and hail the size of softballs.
Pretty amazing changes we're in for sure. And so this summer, is already more than halfway past, or about halfway past. Before we know it, we'll be in the fall, and then we're going to be having like snowfall, and people are going to be talking about, can you believe the cold, when we've been talking about these record heats, heat temperatures around the world as well. But ultimately, it's a cooling world, and we see that with the Arctic sea ice, and it's going to keep increasing. And 2019 shall be an interesting year for sure.
Well, the crazy thing is that people are talking about these heat waves. They're not. They're not heat waves. If you look back at the temperatures from the 30s, they were way warmer. If you look at the number of days in the United States above 90 degrees and the number of days above 100 degrees, both of those numbers are falling. So that the high temperatures are dropping. These people are they're living in the moment. Oh my God, it's hot today. The humidity, because they're used to living in air conditioning. We're not nearly as hot as we've been, especially during the 30s. And it's that way all over the planet. But yet everybody wants to argue with the fact that it's we're cooling, but we really are. I mean, if you look at from the long-term record from 3,000 years back, we're cooling from that. And if you look at the short-term record of just the last couple of years, we're cooling from that as well. So, you can go to Dr. Roy Spencer's site and see it. And look at the low temperature, the low altitude temperature. That's what matters. Who cares what's happening, thousands and thousands and thousands of feet above your head? It's the low surface temperatures that we need to worry about, because that's what's under the clouds. That's where we're at. That's the habitat that we're in. And so, we are seeing these colder temperatures, and we're going to continue to see it. And the summer is going to see some, this fall, we're going to see some unbelievable storms, massive, more flooding, more hail, lightning like you've never seen, more of what I call chase lightning, where you get multiple strikes, and it moves across the sky with each strike as it's trying to balance out the electrical imbalance from the initial strike. And then way more of these positive lightning strikes that are going to be way more detrimental to the grid and anything that they hit. So, yeah, it's going to be really exciting and a heck of a show over the next 15 years.
Wow. Yeah, I've really been intrigued with earth bag homes, and just the thought of digging down, into the ground as well, just for, basically the temperature effect, but also just to give you a little, a little less exposure to what we're seeing here electrically, because there's a difference in what we're seeing. It's way more intense. People could tell the lightning is just stronger. It's just more powerful.
It is. It's coming from a much higher altitude, and if you look at how electricity works, the farther the spark has to arc, the greater the potential of that spark when it discharges. And what people don't realize is, and you guys need to pay attention to your video camera cameras and your electronics, because when a lightning strike goes off, it actually emits some of the exact same radiation and waveforms of an EMP, and that's what damages your electronics. So some of these cameras you'll see when people are shooting video of lightning strikes, if it's a positive lightning strike and it's in close proximity, you'll actually see lines and stripes and things of that nature come across the CCD, which is the charge couple device. That's the chip inside the camera that actually sees the image, takes the photons and converts that into something that we can record. But it will overwhelm the electronics. Now, there's two different types of overwhelming. One is from light energy, and that will bloom out the screen, and so the whole screen will go white. But if you'll notice, after the screen goes white from the what's called dazzling, and it starts to come back and you see the bolt, sometimes you'll see stripes come across the screen, or the camera, kind of freaks out. That is actually the EMP shockwave of that lightning bolt hitting that camera and creating effects within the electronics of it. And that's what we need to be concerned about, because that's from the CM. We get that from the CME, and we get that from an EMP, as well as large electrical discharges also put out that same gamma ray burst of energy that you get from a CM, from an EMP.
Fascinating stuff. So Lee, I've gone about 16 minutes over. I want to thank you for joining me so much, and actually I could probably stay talking to you for another 3 hours.
Well, at your convenience, I'm doing another show tomorrow night with Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch. So he just called earlier, and I've got several more shows coming out that I've already done with Dave from Adapt 2030. And then I'm going to start doing updates and so on and so forth. If I get some followers, we've created a Patreon account. So, if you want me to start doing a Patreon account, then sign up. It's $1 or $10 or however much you want to give a month, whatever it is. But I'll start giving out more information about my yacht, and what my wife and I are doing, our travels, thermal imagers, EMP protection. We're trying to share. I got 9,000 hours of research in this. And so I would like to be able to share that, what I've learned, with the general public, so they can take what I've learned and adapt that to whatever their individual needs are. And so I'm trying to test all of those technologies and all those theories and everything on the yacht. That's what this is all about. So, it's kind of like a project that everybody can contribute to, and everybody can, learn that whatever knowledge that we glean is shared amongst the community of everybody in electric solar yachts. That's what we're trying to do. So if people are interested, they're welcome to see that, or join that, or they can, like you said, the show we're doing with Diamond tomorrow night. If they've got questions, they can send them to Diamond, and we'll answer them on the show there on Revolutionary Radio Studio A, I think it is.
Yep. Well, that all sounds really good. I'd love to get a show together where we had Diamond, Dave, Christian, yourself, and I would love to have the four of us together at some point.
Oh God, that would have to be a day-long show, because we've all got hours worth of stuff to say.
But I would love to do it, because honestly, those three guys and yourself, I totally I enjoy, admire, and they are my regular listening as well. I mean, it's just I think we're part of this bigger family that really kind of knows what's coming, and we need to share that.
Well, I think it works out really good, because all of us have our own unique forte. So, I'm an electronics, energy, plasma, nuclear physics guy. And so that's the part of the grand solar minimum that I cover. And then Dave from Adapt 2030 knows all about the seeds and the crop losses and the prices and all the crops and so on and so forth. So he covers that. And then Christian from Ice Age Farmer covers all of the losses and covers how to grow this, moringa and hydroponics, so on and so forth. And then Dave from Oppenheimer Ranch Diamond, he covers the seismic and the volcanic, and so each one of us brings another little piece of it, because the thing is huge. You can't just look at 2 or 3 or 4 different sciences. I added it up one day, and if you really want to understand it, you have to understand 14 sciences, and if you thoroughly want to understand it, you got to understand 17 sciences. So I've been over that 9,000 hours and everything that I've learned over the last 30 years of working for Uncle Sam. I bring all that together to get a complete understanding of at least the electrical and the effects of what that does to the planet and how the planet is changing and how that's going to change the weather and the magnetic fields and so on and so forth. And those guys are the experts on, what comes up out of the ground and what's going on in the ground and what the cost of what's coming out of the ground and the predictions and the research and putting together charts and all of that. I just do research. Those guys, people like yourself, produce the shows. I just provide the knowledge that I can and try to answer whatever questions I can from your book.
Well, I totally appreciate it. Thank you for being our guest once again. I'm sure we'll have many more shows together. I'd love to do that. And, definitely, when you talk to Diamond tomorrow, let him know I'd love to work with him. And the same with Christian and say Ben from Suspicious Observers, if he was open to it. And definitely Dave from Adapt 2030, because, I feel like we're family. Even if we haven't communicated yet, I think we're all family in the sense that we all get what's coming, get what's here already, and realize, we got to wake as many people up as possible, because, the people we can wake up now won't be panicking as much tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you probably would have good luck with just about everybody that you mentioned. I don't know how good of a luck you would have with Ben, especially if you mentioned my name, because I correct him periodically and he gets really upset about it. So he's not real big on doing shows, but anybody that points out his inaccuracies. But I think you'd have pretty good luck with everybody else.
Well, awesome. Well, hopefully we can make that manifest and we keep working together.
Yep, I'll do that. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate all your listeners tonight. If you got questions, join us tomorrow night with Oppenheimer Ranch. And you let me know. You've got my personal cell number, so you just give me a call or a text message when you want to do another one, and I'll see if I can, make the time available to you.
Sounds good, Lee. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. So that was Lee Wheelbarger, who is, he's one of the best, most knowledgeable people when it comes to the grand solar minimum and everything that's going on. And so we went a little bit over tonight, 12:23 a.m. We've stopped with Revolution Radio for 23 minutes now. We're still going on YouTube. But I want to thank everybody for joining us once again. Completely love you guys, and I want you guys to just know everything I know. And that's why I don't want to pull any punches with you. I want you to know what's coming and what's already here, and really get many different sides and many different opinions on what we're facing, because there are some experts that will tell you got to be above 5,000 or 6,000 feet in order to survive the tidal waves that are coming. And yet, if you listen to Lee, you're going to freeze to death up there, and you're not going to have any food. So we need to take an info from a lot of different sources, and again, you have to listen to the inner voice within and make your decision for yourself. But also, we will band together, and we are banding together. Family members are reaching out and finding each other every day, more and more, creating not just friendships, but it goes way beyond that. I mean, family. We're making family with each other. You might be born into a certain bloodline and a certain blood family, but when you're in times like these, you'll find your true family, and they will find you. And they're going to be the ones that help you get through these times, and you're going to be the one that helps them get through these times. And they will listen to you and respect you and your opinion, and not necessarily think you're a wacko. a crazy conspiracy theorist or a crazy truther. Because you know what? We're not crazy. We're just awake. We get the bigger picture. So my friends, may you always be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, well-being, and always be kept safe. God bless, my friends. Thank you for joining me once again. Namaste.